Today, 4 people left Earth and are flying to the moon. For the first time in 54 years. The first humans heading to the moon since the Apollo 17 mission in 1972. For over half a century, humanity has looked at the moon from below. Today, we are flying there again. And this is just the beginning of what will happen next. This is called Artemis II, NASA's first crewed mission with a crew aboard the SLS rocket and Orion spacecraft. 4 astronauts, 10 days, a journey around the moon and back. But here's what few people understand. This is not just a beautiful flight. This is a rehearsal. A rehearsal before what will change humanity forever. We break it all down in order. Who is flying, how the spacecraft works, what will happen at the moon, and why this launch will be studied in schools in 100 years, just like Apollo 11. The last time people flew to the moon was in December 1972, Apollo 17 mission, Eugene Cernan, the last person to step on the lunar surface. Before ascending from the surface, he said, "We leave as we came, and if God wills, we shall return with peace and hope for all mankind." After that, 54 years of silence. Not a single person beyond low Earth orbit. Not one. Today, April 1st, 2026, at 6:35 p.m. Eastern Time, the SLS rocket launched from Pad 39B at Kennedy Space Center. The 54-year pause is over. Let's break down who is flying and on what. The crew of the mission, NASA astronauts Reid Wiseman, Victor Glover, and Christina Koch, as well as Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen. 4 people, 4 stories. Reid Wiseman, commander, experienced astronaut. ISS veteran. Victor Glover, pilot, former U.S. Navy test pilot with thousands of flight hours. Christina Koch, mission specialist, record holder for the longest continuous stay in space by a woman. The first woman flying to the moon. Jeremy Hansen, the first Canadian on a lunar mission. The first non-US person flying beyond low orbit. This is not just a crew, this is a symbol. Now, about the rocket. SLS, Space Launch System, generated 8.8 million pounds of thrust at launch. Solid rocket boosters provided over 75% of the thrust needed to lift the 5.75 million pound rocket. For comparison, this is more powerful than the Saturn V that launched Apollo, the most powerful rocket ever successfully launched. But here's what's interesting. Right after launch, there was a temporary communication problem. The crew could hear mission control, but on Earth, they couldn't hear the crew's responses. 51 minutes after launch, planned satellite handover, and one-way silence. The problem was resolved. But this is a reminder, space doesn't forgive little things. And here's where the most interesting part begins. The Orion spacecraft is not just a capsule. It's a home for 4 people for 10 days. Life support system, communication system, navigation system. One of the main tasks of the mission, to test the Orion life support system with people on board for the first time. Because without this, the next step is impossible. And here, the most important fact that few people understand. Artemis II is not a mission to the moon. This is a mission around the moon. The crew does not land, does not step out onto the surface. They fly around, study, test, and return. Why? Because 54 years is a very long time. Technologies have changed. People have changed. Procedures have changed. You can't just fly to the moon after a half-century break. A rehearsal is needed. Orion will loop behind the moon and use gravity to naturally direct the spacecraft back to Earth. During this time, astronauts will test life support, navigation, communication, and deep space operations. But here's what makes this truly exciting. When the crew flies around the moon, they will be farther from Earth than any human before them. Farther than Apollo astronauts. Farther than anyone in human history. The record that has stood for 54 years will be broken this week. And now, the main twist. This is only the second step. The first human landing on the moon is planned for the Artemis IV mission in 2028. Artemis II is the bridge between where we were and where we are going. Let's talk about why this is important, not just as a beautiful moment in history, but as the beginning of something truly big. The Artemis program is not a flag on the moon. This is permanent presence. NASA plans a lunar base, lunar orbital station gateway, regular missions. The moon as a foothold. For what? For Mars. NASA's goal to establish long-term presence on the moon as a stepping stone to future Mars missions. Artemis II is the first real step on this path. But there's one more factor that adds urgency. While the US is technically ahead of China on the schedule, the gap has significantly narrowed due to a long series of delays in the Artemis program and steady progress in China's crewed lunar program. The space race is back. Only this time the stakes are higher, because the moon is not just a symbol. This is resources. Helium-3, water ice in craters, rare earth metals. Whoever establishes permanent presence first gets a strategic advantage for decades ahead. And here's what makes today's launch special. The mission patch, AII, is stylized as the word all. Victor Glover explained, "We want everyone to be part of this mission. Not Americans, not NASA. Everyone." Right now, while you watch this video, 4 people are flying to the moon. They are in a capsule the size of a small room. Around them, emptiness. Ahead, the moon. Behind, everything they knew. Through the window, Earth is getting smaller every minute, a blue dot against the blackness. And they are the first in 54 years to see this live. Think about what that number means. 54 years. People were born, grew up, became adults, grew old, died. Whole generations who never in their lives saw a human flying to the moon. Today, that changed. Eugene Cernan, the last person to walk on the moon, died in 2017. He waited 45 years, hoped to see the return in his lifetime. He was 9 years short, but today, his words come true. "If God wills, we shall return." We have returned. And here's what's still open. In 2 years, Artemis IV, the first people on the moon in half a century. Maybe the first woman on the moon. Maybe the first non-US person. And then Mars. Not in science fiction novels, not in dreams, in real plans, with real dates, with real people already training. We live in a moment when humanity has begun looking up again. For real. And today's launch is not the end of the story. This is the first page of a new chapter that will be studied in schools in 100 years. Right now, 4 people are flying to the moon, and the universe is a little smaller